So it's my great pleasure to open today the Digital Publishing Summit 2023, which is online. And I will extend my welcome to our esteemed guests, industry professionals, experts who have accepted to share their thoughts, their knowledge, and their innovative experience in digital publishing all along the week. First, a very quick introduction about IDEA Lab. Collaboration lies at the core of our mission. So IDEA Lab has brought together a diverse community of stakeholders from across Europe and beyond, including publishers, technology companies, libraries, and research institutions. By facilitating dialogue and exchange of ideas, we have nurtured a dynamic ecosystem where innovation thrives. Our collaborative efforts have resulted in advancements in areas such as digital rights management with the LCP-DRM, next generation reading technologies with the Redium initiative, and accessible publishing. I will just go through a quick tour of the IDEA Lab ongoing projects. So we've got LCP, the digital rights management technology, that has been developed by the publishing industry for the publishing industry. So IDEA Lab is vendor neutral, it's interoperable, and it provides a distributed DRM solution with now 46 server installations, 10 more this year, 71 mobile applications, 10 desktop applications, several e-ink compliant devices. And so LCP usage is blooming and worldwide. An especially important move is the adoption of LCP by the Brazilian PNLD education program for its EPUB books. So millions, literally millions of children may ultimately be reading LCP protected content, most of them on Thorium Reader, which is another project of IDEA Lab. LCP is currently an ISO technical specification and will become a full ISO standard by the end of the year. IDEA Lab is not intending to develop applications. We are developing laboratory, so we are essentially develop pieces of applications, building blocks from which applications can be developed. Thorium Reader is the only exception. It's an ebook reading application for Windows, Mac, Linux, constant development. And now we can say it's more or less a reference for accessing EPUB 3 applications in Reflow, fixed layout, audiobooks, visual narratives, PDF documents, and DAISY ebooks. It's localized in large set of languages, almost 20 now. And there is a huge effort to make Thorium Reader a highly accessible application for visually impaired people. The application is free, no ads, no leaks of private data. There will be a presentation by Daniel Weck about this application Thursday, 2 p.m. by Daniel Weck is the software engineer behind Thorium. About accessibility, one of the key focuses of IDEA Lab has been to foster an inclusive and accessible ecosystem in the digital reading. We firmly believe that everyone should have equal access to reading, regardless of their personal circumstances. So other project, very quickly, displaying accessibility metadata on library websites. This is something we started in 2021. It's driven by the European Accessibility Directive. And so we are participating to W3C work on user experience guide for displaying accessibility metadata. And we are doing also in France specific work on enhancing accessibility display everywhere, for accessibility metadata display everywhere. We've got another project called Lis Mon Livre, accessing catalogs of audiobooks via smart speakers, implemented in 2 locations now, SILA in Canada and AVH, Association Valentin Huy in France. So it's from Alexa devices, you can access DAISY audio-only ebooks in streaming. And there will be on Thursday at 4 p.m. Demonstration of that, not a demonstration, a talk about that by people from Association Valentin Huy and Silla Library. ABE Lab is also a project, ABE for accessible backlist ebooks. It's projects that we are doing with two partners, Lea and the KB in Netherlands. And it's a project that will help making backlist titles accessible. So Gauthier Chomel will describe that on Tuesday at 11 p.m. with Chiara Demartin and Ted van der Vogt. And last but not the least, interoperability. Interoperability is the foundation of a vibrant and sustainable digital publishing landscape. So we are working inside the W3C on EPUB 3.3. This is now, EPUB 3.3 is now a W3C recommendation. And we are also working on software inside Redium for interoperable software, interoperable reading kits. We are working on mobile, we are working on desktop toolkits, and we are working also with DEMARC on web toolkits. So Michael Menu from DEMARC will be there on Thursday to present the advancements in Redium Mobile, and Daniel Weck, talking about Thorium, will also talk about Redium Desktop. So I extend my gratitude to our sponsors, partners, organizing committee, Marie-Laurence Gauthier for organizing this week of conferences. And I really want to express my sincere appreciation on all the speakers and panelists who have graciously agreed to share their experience with us. Thank you very much. And I will introduce our first guest, Marco Hercock from Belletrina. So Belletrina, in short words, is a publisher, it's a distributor, it's a technology supplier, it's a bookseller, it's an accessibility expert active in several European countries. And we also get on the stage Daniel Freling from Nota. Nota is the Danish Library and Expertise Center for people with print disabilities. And our third guest is Nicolas Cavalli from Media Library Online, MLOL. MLOL is a digital lending platform with the largest collection of content for all Italian libraries, and it's based in Milano. So I will have a first question for each of you. And the first question is very simple. Why did you become a member of IDEA Lab? What made you being interested in IDEA Lab? So please, maybe Marco, you can start.
Muted.
Or Daniel?
You're muted, Marco.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, it's good.
Okay. Hello from Belletrina. I would like to express our gratitude that we can share the joy of being the IDEA Lab member, because we see quite a lot of benefits here, especially since we've been in an ebook business and ebook ecosystems quite a long time, and we've seen that the only future path is to work with the community, not with a single provider or with some wrapped system, but with something that all the community members can provide and can achieve something, and especially can actually get some of their experience into a mutual interest. So for us, we're momentarily building 2 new systems with help of EDR Lab and their solutions, and we can't see a possibility to build such a systems which are actually built for future without solutions like that one that are in development stage or are developed, since the EDR ecosystems has changed quite a lot in last years. And I think now with the quite drastic changes coming to a market general, we need to be prepared to be actually aware of all the changes, and we should know that changes will be something that we will have to implement constantly. Since now we have been quite used to work with one solution, but now we see that we will have to implement quite a lot of small solutions and keep constant track of everything what's coming, especially with AI marching on the front door, which will affect quite a lot of our user behavior, user acceptance, and the general approach to all systems that we are using now.
How did you hear about us, about EDR Lab first?
Well, I think it was quite a lot of rumors about the system that was building, and it was trying to replace the Adobe DRM ecosystem. And from the beginning, it was on the initial stage, we saw that it is not something that would replace it. But I say it's like a year and a half ago, we saw that this is the stage that actually EDR Lab with his product has achieved the level that can start spreading all over the all systems that were usually covered by Adobe. And we saw that this is one of the most important track that we see a successful successor on that track. And we see in future that, and we predict that the LCP will actually replace Adobe completely on that small scale systems.
We hope so. Daniel, same questions. How did you hear about EDR Lab, and what made you, well, come here?
Yep. Hello from Denmark. Yeah, it was part of our transition to the EPUB format. We wanted to be able to distribute all of our books, not just audiobooks, as we were just distributing DAISY through our app initially. So we looked at what kind of components or initiatives around EPUB were there. So we found the Redium components very appealing, because we try and utilize open source and community-driven development. So we quickly found that EDR Lab was supporting and had some very high ambitions and some very prolific developers on these components, and we wanted to kind of join that train and contribute back as well to the development of like a standardized component or package for experiencing EPUB reading. And also we saw in the future that we would need some kind of protection like LCP encryption that would be accessible, and most other proprietary DRMs are not very accessible for people with visual impairment or reading disabilities. So we saw that we had kind of a common vision for interacting with EPUBs in the future.
So open source is something, it's an important access for you.
Yes.
Important aspect, sorry. Yes. Right. And Nicolas, same question, in fact. What made you come here?
Yeah. Well, we have been partnered with EDR Lab, I don't know since how many years, but since quite the beginning, because we as a library supplier, digital lending library supplier, we were looking to develop a whole ecosystem of accessible ebook reading. So we were looking how to escape from Adobe dominion. And so we were looking of open source also solution, much better if built at a European level with cooperation. So it was quite natural for us to get in touch with EDR Lab and start cooperating. So actually it is, because it's still happening, a big move for us. We as a library, a digital lending library supplier, we have to still use Adobe DRM, but LCP usage and mobile and desktop application usage is growing so rapidly that hopefully we see the end of the Adobe presence here, because we have noticed that LCP and the application Rhedium and Thorium applications are much more effective, and actually they have allowed us to build such an ecosystem in which the library patron can browse the catalog and then can borrow the book directly from the application and read it directly in the application without registration from some other places like Adobe is requesting. So it's really very, very useful for what we are using, developing. So it was very natural for us to look for a solution like you have been building.
It was a big move for you to move from the previous platform to the new platform. What do your patrons say about that? Do you have still a lot of support? Are they happy? Less support?
They are very happy. I've been looking for this presentation, and I can say that in this first 5 months of this year, 2023, more than 65% of our patrons are using LCP protected ebooks, and we are quite confident that the only and this percentage is growing rapidly comparing to last year and to the previous year, and we are quite confident that the patrons that are using the Adobe DRM is just because Kobo e-readers are quite common in Italy, and Kobo does not accept LCP, so they are forced to use Adobe DRM protected ebooks just because of that. But the LCP solution, so we have in place both solutions as of now, but the LCP based and Thorium based solutions are much more. Our patrons are much more happy to use them comparing to the Adobe part. So it's a matter of time that, for us it's crucial that Kobo adopts LCP, because Kobo readers are very common in Italy, and that's a big obstacle for us, and for patrons to use LCP.
We will send the video to Kobo.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope
it should be it should be done by the end of this year, but we are waiting for news. Okay, so you think that when Kobo makes the step, you may be able to get rid of the Adobe DRM?
Our plan is to get rid of the Adobe DRM because, well, it's not maintained. It's a source of issues every day for us. We have customer service answering issues with Adobe DRM that are always the same, and they don't solve it. So our plan is to switch completely to the LCP and Thorium based solutions, and hopefully it will be next year, or we hope to as soon as possible.
When we speak about EDR Lab, we provide technologies, we work on standards like EPUB, but we're also an association. So what are you expecting from us as an association? Can we do better, in fact? And I will ask the same question to Daniel and Marco.
Well, you're doing quite well, and I think that cooperation it's very important to our field, because we can together we can make our voice stronger, and for example, maybe Kobo will listen us and will switch. So it's an approach that is very good for us, and and we like it very much, because it's much better for a company to be able to have a voice in the developing of the technologies that then we are going to use, than just to be forced to take the technology as someone else has projected and try to adapt it to what we need. Now we have a voice and we can say, well, we need that. We need feasible. It's our idea is right. Can we, you know? And it's very. It's much better for a company. We are much more confident to develop application because and our pieces of software because we know we can talk with other pieces of software and make all the thing work better. You know?
Marco, do you share the same opinion about that? What this? We are an association. What does it bring to you?
Well, I definitely share the same opinion. We actually see the community as much more stronger environment for developing new ideas and of course to adapt or to learn by the experience. We all had quite a lot of experience with Adobe and we see what are actually the issues with all the systems, and one of them is actually to try like it was in the days of Adobe, that we were able to cover as much as wide aspect of devices as possible. But since the problems that have occurred like 3 to 5 years ago, we see that this is now not a goal, and definitely switching to new environment which has more responsible development is the key figure for us, since the new devices are coming constantly, new versions of the systems, the new Androids, which makes quite a lot of problems, are just a small stone in all that big conglomerate of technical solutions that we must provide to satisfy as much users as possible. So definitely community with a lot of voices, with a lot of experience are the key figure here to have a sustainable product with a future that it's guaranteed to last.
Thank you. And Daniel?
Yeah, we're very happy with the way EDR Labs has like cultivated a community, for example, on the Slack, EDR Labs Slack, where we can communicate directly with some of the developers for the Rhedium components. And that has made it very easy to have some back and forth on developing new features or fixing certain bugs. And in general, I feel like the pace of development is very, very fast, and it makes us able to deliver some of the features we want. I also like the way that there's been a lot of focus on specifications and getting those specifications accepted internationally, because it makes our products available to a lot more users, and it makes us have like a common standard we all follow.
Sure. Okay, great. And what are your dreams about Rhedium, Daniel? What would be the evolution you would like to see?
I think I would like to see more community building, where you kind of cultivate more experience sharing, but also maybe push for some Rhedium components on different platforms. For example, on the Flutter platform that we develop on. Yeah, that's a lot. There's a lot of like offshoots in different directions. Maybe we should have some kind of common strategy here. But yeah, I think it's just important to continue like the standardization work as well. That's very important.
By the way, about standardization quickly, well, EPUB 3.3 standardized, great. There is some interest at the moment in Korea about standardizing our Divina format for comics, because they would like to archive webtoons with that. So so maybe we will work on that with them. And there is an interest also for a long time to standardize the OPDS protocol that we are using and to make it worldwide standard, having a stamp, in fact, on that. So there is some work to do, and we will see with Adrien from the MARC, if we can, and all the community around OPDS, if we can move forward on that aspect, which is also important and interesting. Yes.
It's definitely very interesting for us, since we also have comics and they're like our own format, but we want to move it to a more standardized format. And we also use OPDS actually for our new app. So Thorium Reader can also open our library out of the box. So that's something really nice that this standardization brings along.
That's great. And about quickly, Daniel, about DAISY versus EPUB. So you are doing both. In fact, we try to, in Thorium, for example, we accept DAISY and EPUB, but the strategy is still to move everybody to EPUB if it's possible, even in specialized devices. So what do you think about this will to, at the end, maybe move everybody to EPUB?
I think it's still the right path to do. We still have a lot of DAISY books, but we've actually started transforming them on the fly to EPUB or WebPUB. So when the user receives it, it's actually an EPUB, even though we have it as a DAISY on our library. Okay. So I think we will get there eventually, but we will continue to have like physical players that only supports DAISY. So we will always have that format, I think.
Okay. So, last round of questions for you, and we will start with Daniel. Would you recommend other companies, organizations in your country to join IDEA Lab? And which kind of words would you tell them to convince them, in fact, because you know we are 62 members today. It would be good to reach 100 because, as you have all said, the power of the community is stronger when there are more members from different aspects of the industry, and so we can move together. So do you think that some other companies, organizations in your country could be interesting to join, and can you help?
I think it's definitely a good idea to join IDEA Labs, because you have like a common understanding of where to go, and you have common pooled resources, so you can develop much faster as well, because you don't have to do everything yourself. There's a very big feature set that you get out of the box with the Rhedium components, for example, and you will be following internationally accepted standards and specifications that make your products compatible with a lot of other libraries or players.
Marco?
Well, it's kind of hard to answer that question, since we are probably the only one that are dealing on that topic here. This is why we are covering so many different areas to be able to sustainably satisfy whatever our customers or the libraries or the physical buyers are. And definitely we see a future in that the group is spreading, because more experience means more knowledge. So definitely yes. Yeah.
Nicolas?
Yeah, I share Daniel and Marco thoughts. Plus, you know, as I said before, cooperation is a key to participate. Is very important aspect for our participation. One of the problems in more companies or institutions joining IDEA Lab from Italy is that in general, the e-publishing field in Italy is not so developed. We are not so many people that are working on this. So I would expect, and I would hope that more people would become more Italian people would become more in the active in the digital publishing sector, and not just taking solution as they are from abroad and adopting it in Italy, but being able to develop, to share thoughts with the developing community like IDEA Lab is. But we have to do some work in Italy for to get the field with more knowledge and with more people working in it and being more active.
Sure, I imagine so. By the way, just an information, we will have for the first year in our life a stand in Frankfurt this year. So I hope that you will, if you are in Frankfurt, I am sure that Marco will be there for sure. So we will be very happy to meet you there, and we will be happy to meet every organization interested in IDEA Lab there also. Are there some questions to us from the participants? Gauthier, Marie-Laurence. Not sure. There is no.
I see no question. So to all of our attendees, you can use the Q&A button if you have a question. We still have 5 minutes here. So if you have some, we'll be happy to answer. But maybe it's been sufficiently very clear all we've heard.
Maybe. So what can I add to that? But everybody knows that the accessibility directive is coming. There's still a lot of work to do on accessibility in our world, in Europe. We know that we must be sure that every new ebook is in EPUB 3.3 if possible. Or you know, EPUB 3.3, it's more or less the same as EPUB 3.0. No difference for publishers. Don't be afraid. It's mainly clarification of the specification itself. So the things are explained better, but the result is the same. There are, when we speak about accessibility, there have been a lot of evolutions on the tools provided by the DAISY consortium. So ACE, this kind of tool that enable publisher to check the accessibility of their ebooks. ACE is not an automatic tool. It's not something that say yes, no, it's accessible, it's not accessible. It's something that must be driven by a human. So it's really a tool for people who check accessibility. But if you are a publisher, work on that now. Try to get your ebooks accessible now, not in 2026 or 2027. And in the AB Lab project, we're working on the accessibility on the backlist. So we are trying to find some solutions to convert to accessible ebooks as automatically as possible what is there, the old ebooks. So if you have if you know about new tools appearing in this area, you're welcome to signal them to us. We want to make the tour of what is possible in this world. There is no more question about that, I think that we will stop this session here. There is one question from Morten. Perhaps the panel could elaborate if text-to-speech function in readers as an accessible necessity for EPUB to take over from the DAISY format. So, okay, do we need text-to-speech to take over DAISY? Well, I can ask Daniel maybe. Well, if we want to get everybody coming to EPUB, what is the level of TTS that we need in all tools, reading tools?
And for us, it was definitely important to have TTS capabilities in our app because, yeah, we're a library for people with reading disabilities, so a lot of blind users. And we did have a lot of text-only EPUBs. So to give them any value for our users, we needed the TTS component. So I do think it's very important to have TTS for EPUBs. Yeah.
For sure, the voices, the TTS voices are getting better and better in all platforms, in mobile, iOS, Android, PCs, Mac. It's going better. we should not forget the possibility to have in EPUB the media overlay feature, which is the synchronization of text and human voice. So it's a bit more difficult to produce for sure, but EPUB provides this possibility. Ridium provides this possibility on the desktop today and on the mobile tomorrow during the year. As a publisher, you can start thinking about that now, because, well, the tools are starting being compliant with this very advanced feature. No other question. So really, thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you very much, Nicolas. And thank you very much, Marco.
Thank you.
Having
Thank you.
participated to this panel today. Well, for the participants, there will be a new session at 11 o'clock. Goodbye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.